Hello everyone, it's Richard again. I'm going to do some service on my 2011 Sonata SE 2.0 T Turbo. Putting in a new set of plugs. I got it used with 37,000 miles on it. I checked the plugs already and they don't look too great, so I am going to replace them with the OEM recommended Denso plugs. I got 4 of them. They're not cheap. They are iridium though, so that makes them more expensive. See if I get that in focus for you. There we go. And there's the part number exactly. I'll put it on the description as well as to where I bought them. They're $50 plus for 4 of them. So, you know, some people would say that's not expensive, or I think for a set of plugs that's pretty expensive. But it's a turbo, so we got to put the right parts into it. So other than the spark plugs, here are the parts you're going to need. I'm going to use some anti-seize compound on the threads of the spark plugs. I got an air compressor with an air blowing tool there myself. If you don't have that, you could use an air can. It's not quite as effective, but it'll blow some of the dust out of the spark plug holes. That's what it's there for. So I got several socket wrench adapters, a 3/8 inch extension on my socket. The socket itself is a 5/8 socket. They spec, I believe, a 16 millimeter socket if you have it, but this will work just fine. Fits the spark plug perfect. I have several torque wrenches. That is a 1/2 inch torque wrench, foot-pounds. I'm going to use it for installing the spark plugs. The spec on the spark plug box itself says snug plus a 1/4 turn. You can do it that way if you don't have a spark plug wrench. A torque wrench. That is an inch-pound torque wrench, and I'm going to use it to tighten down the coil packs that are on top of the spark plugs. And I'll tell you what the specs on that are as well. Okay, and I'm using the spec on the coil packs from Hyundai. They do not have a torque value for the spark plugs on the website, so I'm thinking they're thinking the best way to go is snug plus a 1/4 turn. According to the Hyundai site, the proper gap for your spark plug should be 0.07 to 0.7 to 0.8 millimeters, or 0.0276 to 0.0315 inches. So you never know if they've gapped them correctly at the factory, so check them. I'm going to use a little feeler gauge that I have, and as you can see, it's 0.028 or 0.7 millimeters, which is the minimum gap. So let's see if that fits. And yes, there's just a little bit bigger than that spec. I can feel a little wobble in there, but that's okay. It's within spec. I'm going to check it with a 0.30, 0.7075 and see what I get. Make sure your feeler gauges are clean, and that one just gets in there. So it's within, this spark plug's within spec. Careful with that tip. It's very, very tiny little tip on that. Make sure you don't break it or damage it in any way. So check your spark plugs for the gap using a feeler gauge, but be careful with the tip. You don't want to hurt these nice spark plugs. This is the engine housing for the Sonata 2011 SE Turbo, and as you can see, we have a nice little engine dressing or cover. I think it's more or less, you know, to make it look pretty, but it also actually has a little bit of insulation underneath it that keeps the engine quiet, but it needs to come off. There's no screws holding this down. It's just held on by 4 grommets. There's one approximately here, 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 and here, and all you need to do is pull, and I'd pull from this area as I'm showing you right now, and then once that's done, pull on the back. That's it. Cover comes off. Put it aside. There you have all the coil packs, and underneath those coil packs you'll have the spark plugs. Every one of these coil packs is held down by a 10mm socket, which I forgot to include in the things you're going to need, but I'll put it in the description as well. So we have to take those 10 mils out and then take the coils off. So 10 mils, take the coils off. You don't really have to number them or anything. They're pretty self-explanatory. They really, except for these two, maybe you could mix them up. So be careful and just note where they came out from so you put them back to where they came from. Okay. The other thing I like to do prior to starting, which is why I had the air can, is you can blow that out. You know, get any dirt you have in there out. I'm going to use compressed air for that. But basically I'm going to blow it out, get any loose dirt that's there, because you don't want any dirt falling into those holes and then into your engine. Here we go, blowing out all this. Okay, that's preliminary prior to taking off the coils. Next, we're going to take the coils off. Get a little closer for you. And that's a 10 millimeter. These have a proper torque specification, and I'll tell you what it is as we're putting it back in. Okay, try not to do that. Let's drop your socket under the car. There's one coil pack out of the way. Two coil packs out of the way. Third one. Don't pull too hard on the wires, please. Be gentle. There's the fourth and the fourth one out of the way. Okay, now the holes are exposed. I'll bring you over and show you that. And I'll get some light on that too. The holes are exposed. You can see the spark plugs in the holes. And basically I'm going to blow those out with compressed air again. You use an air can if you don't have it to get any dirt that may be in those little holes out. We don't want that stuff falling into the threads or into the engine. Let's blow that stuff out. There we go. Now you're ready to take the spark plugs out of the engine itself, and we're going to use the 5/8 socket, and this is a special socket. As you can see, it's got rubber inside. It's a spark plug socket actually, and it's specially made to take spark plugs out. If you happen to have a problem getting one of the spark plugs out after you've taken it off, this is what I use. I use a little piece of hose and I just drop it down over the top of the spark plug and pick it out of the hole. Okay, let's take this stuff out. First one here, put my extension down, take my socket. It's on there snug. Not too bad though. Super tight. I've already taken these out and put anti-seize compound on the threads and everything else, so they should come up quite easily, and they do, spinning nicely. Okay, and you can see that it has that gray stuff on it. That's the anti-seize compound. This one's fairly dirty. Why I'm replacing them. And here's what really got me. See that blow-by on the ceramics? That spark plug has failed. That brown crud should not be there. So, time to replace them. Let's take the next one out. Now this valve cover is made out of plastic, so be careful. You can break it, and then you'll have to replace it. You don't want that. This one's looking a little less cruddy, but let's see. Once again, notice that blow-by on the ceramic there. So that basically the seal and whatever's sealing that spark plug to the ceramic, the metal between the ceramic and the metal has failed. You should not be seeing that. So, once again, confirming that I'm doing exactly what I should be doing right now, and that's just over 37,000 miles on this thing. I've only owned it for about 300-400 miles, so it's new to me. It's a very, very nice car. It accelerates like crazy. I saw a YouTube video of one of these doing 150 miles an hour, and that was a stock turbo engine. Another one, again, a little soiled, but once again, look at that. That's not good. That plug's done. And as I said, I'll post a link of where I got these plugs. I've got the best deal I could find on the internet, and I called in the order, talked to a nice gentleman. His name was Frank, and I got them within 2 or 3 days. Very quick shipping, and they were under $55, I believe. Once again, that gray on the spark plug is the anti-seize, and once again, we have a failure on that plug right there. Not as bad as the rest, but hey, done. Now let's put the new ones back in. First thing I'm going to do with these is put some anti-seize compound on the threads. Now, I read on the internet, you know, warning you not to get it on the leads because it's conductive. I've checked it with my multimeter. The anti-seize compound I'm using, which is that, and it's good up to 1600 Fahrenheit, so hopefully we'll never get that hot. It isn't electrically conductive, so you don't have to really worry about it. But I don't want any of this gunk going into my cylinder, so I'm going to put it on there and just go a little short. Just short about there. Maybe 2 threads from the top, maybe 2 or 3 millimeters from the top. And I'm not going to be too liberal with it. I'll show you what I got when I'm done, as it's hard to do that in front of the camera. Okay. There's the sloppy on it. What I'm going to do next is use a paper towel and wrap it around and take all the excess off. You can use a cloth, whatever you'd like. Basically, I don't want any of this stuff going into the engine, and I don't want it on top of the engine, none of that. Just want to have some anti-seize on it so it's easier to take out like it was this time. And careful not to put any on the tips. Okay. Here's what it looks like now. See that? That's plenty. Okay? So we take our trusty hose and what I did not show you on that hose is that I put a little slit on it like that, so that makes it even go deeper onto the spark plug. The reason you use the hose is because you're guaranteed not to strip the spark plug, okay? So nice and tight down like that. There you go. And now just drop it in the hole. And that is what you're not supposed to do. You do that, what I just did, drop the spark plug, you need to check the gap again. Okay? My hose has gotten a little too loose, I think. Okay. After dropping that spark plug, the gap on it now is 0.21 or 0.53 millimeters, way out of spec. As you can see, it obviously hit the head and that changed the gap. So now I got to change that gap back. And the way I'm going to do that is using a pair of needle nose, and I'm going to put the needle nose, if you got a gap tool you can use that too, but I'm going to put the needle nose here and bend this out this way. These are too big, so I'm going to have to get something else. Smaller set of needle nose. Here we go. And I'm going to put that right there and then just bend out. Now careful not to break anything, including the tip. I'm very close to the tip right now myself, so I'm going to back that up a bit, and the ceramic. .28. Snug. Now if I remember correctly, the .28 went in. Okay, that's in. But the .30 did not. It does not. I got that spark plug cleaned up, re-gapped. This time I'm not going to use the slitted side of my hose. I'm going to use the other side, as I'll get a better bite on it, I think, that way. There we go. I'm going to use this side instead. So here we go. Jam it in there good, because I don't want to go fishing for that and re-gapping another spark plug. There's the thread compound and the proper gap. And it just drops into the hole and basically threads itself with that nice anti-seize compound on there. Now if you don't have a torque wrench, just do the snug plus a quarter turn, and I believe that's good enough. Okay, that's snug with the hose. Go with spark plug number 2. I'm going to skip showing you putting in each one because I got to put anti-seize on each one of these spark plugs. All right, I'm going to put the remainder of these in here using my little hose, the non-split end, and checking to make sure it's got a good bite on it before I put it there, because I'm not dropping any more of these. All of them have anti-seize compound on them already. So that's just the nice thing about anti-seize compound is just this. They just drop right in. They're beautiful. And this way you can't cross thread it and wreck the threads on your head. Snug. That's it. Learn my lesson, don't put a slit in the hose. There we go. Snug. Now I'm going to use a torque wrench for tightening them down. It's not what the manufacturer of the spark plug suggests, and it also isn't what Hyundai suggests, but I like to know the torque that I put something into the engine on. Snug. Snug. Okay, now I'm going to start here, which is basically a quarter turn would be that. And that's not even close enough in torque for me. So crushing a washer in there. I'm going to turn that down to 15. And 15, you're good. So there's snug. That would be a quarter turn. $15. So I don't think that quarter turn would work for me. Snug. Quarter turn. $15. Snug. What's snug? Quarter turn. Snug's kind of hard to define, isn't it? 15. Okay. Next step is ignition coil packs, and they have a specific torque to them. And their torque is, you can read it, tightening torque, 4.3 foot-pounds. Well, that's really low for my foot-pounds, but I have an inch-pounds, and when you convert that, you get 51.6 inch-pounds. So that's what I'm going to go with. Okay? It's a range. Pick what you want. Just be in that range. I'm glad they have a range. So we put the coil packs back in, one at a time. 1, 2, now this one twists around the other way. 3, and by I mean this bolt is on that side. 3, and this one goes back the way the other ones went. 4. Push them down. There we go. Hand tighten the screws into the bolts into them. That way you know you're not cross-threading them. Snug. Kind of glad I dropped that one because it shows you what you need to do if you do drop one. I'd rather have not dropped it, but I got it on video. Number 3. The reason I'm using inch-pounds instead of foot-pounds is because As you can tell, I live by a busy street. The reason I'm using inch pounds instead of foot pounds, it's more accurate for these lower torques. And I know it's kind of late in the video, but don't work on a warm engine or a hot engine. Not really smart. Okay. I said 51.6, so we'll go there. Okay, I got my torque wrench dialed in. 10 millimeter. That's it. It's not very tight at all. Remember, you're going into plastic here. When it clicks, that's it. We're in the right range. That's it. Last but not least, put the cover on. I've got, as you can see, the oil fill and the oil dipstick. You use those as guides. That's it. I've got anti-seize thread compound on my hands. I don't want to touch that. That stuff's hard to get off. And that's it. You've just changed the spark plugs on your 2011 Sonata Turbo 2.0 T SE. Thanks for watching.